We're breaking down the wild world of fake book reviews, publishing industry backlash, and enough book talk drama to keep you fed for the week. Welcome back to Rationally Insane. Think of it as a FaceTime with your bookish friend who's part delusional, part rational, and a bit of an oversharer. I'm Rachel the Oak, author, content creator, and hot mess connoisseur. So let's get started. If you're not chronically online the way that I am, you might have not noticed the latest book talk drama, so I'm gonna keep you updated because that's my job, and oh boy, what a fun job it is. So in the past couple of weeks, maybe month, it came out that multiple book influencers admitted to faking book reviews. Yes, you read that right. They pretended to read books and then just rating it. And you think to yourself, why would anyone do that? That makes no sense. So naturally, I had to take a little bit of an internet deep dive and found out that in some communities online, you get free books if you have a high reading and rating score. So basically, same way that when you read books on Goodreads, you can put them on your reading list and then you give it ratings and you gain followers and stuff like that. There's other online communities where publishers, when you have a lot of books that you read and you have a lot of really good ratings for books and you're just like on top of new book launches, they think, oh wow, let's give this person our next book before anybody else gets it. Let them read it, review it. And this is obviously great. If you're a massive reader and you are amazing at creating book reviews, then you should be rewarded for the incredible work that you're putting out there. As you know, on my YouTube channel, I absolutely love reading like 1-star book reviews of different books and giving my own opinion and my own takes on it. And the biggest reason for that is, number one, I'm just not very good at reviewing books. I have a very low threshold for what I enjoy, and I'm not very good at critically analyzing books. And number two is because I really appreciate Goodreads reviews. They are so in-depth and so amazing, and people, you can tell, really took the time as they were reading the book to make notes and to analyze it critically and to be able to share that information with everybody else. I trust that if a person has multiple followers, multiple likes in their reviews, then amazing. I'm going to trust their judgment in books. If they review a book and they have tons of criticism that matches the kind of criticism that I had, I'm going to trust their future reviews. Kind of like if you have a friend that's a bit of a foodie and knows all the good restaurants. If they recommend you to a restaurant and you love that food, then you're going to go back to that friend and you're going to be like, tell me more restaurants, let's go. And obviously, the moment it comes out that some of these reviewers are faking reviews, immediately the entire process of book reviews is destroyed. The trust that it erodes in reviews is traumatic. And you might think that I'm exaggerating this, but I'm not. Now that you know that people are admitting to faking reviews, you're not going to look at reviews in any platform the same way, even if they only faked reviews in specific platforms, in places that publishers have access to. I'm sorry, but the average reader doesn't know what platforms these are. The average reader is just going to say, well, I don't know if I trust these reviews anymore. I don't know if I can look at that rating score and actually believe that it's an accurate reflection of the book that I'm about to get. And this is awful because it's already hard enough to pick good books these days just by reading the back cover. Not to mention the fact that we all know that, people get paid to make ads about books. They get paid to say a book is great. So it feels like the Goodreads review score is our final beacon of hope and of clarity, of understanding, is this actually worth my money? The moment that stops existing, now you can't trust anyone. And you might say that this is isolated. You might say that actually it only erodes trust in the early reader systems. So when you read a review that says, I was given this book for free by a publisher, you might be like, oh, now I know that I can't trust it. Which in itself, again, is awful, because just because there's one bad apple doesn't mean the entire tree is rotten, right? But I really don't think that it is isolated. If you can't trust the arc and a fresh new book comes out, you're much less likely to actually pick it up because you don't know if the ratings are an accurate reflection of the contents of the book. And this is so awful for everyone, but it also makes me feel really, really bad for indie authors. Like, writing and publishing a book is no easy feat. You have to put in so many hours, blood, sweat, tears, and money into getting your book out there in bookshelves. And if you're an indie, so many people say that the best thing that you can do in order to start getting your ball rolling is offering free books to major book reviewer, because you might not be able to pay an influencer on Booktok to make a post about you, but sending a book for free might be a lot more manageable within your budget. And if that doesn't work, if that cog in the machine stops being something that's at the disposal of indie authors, what the heck are you supposed to do? As a new author that has nobody on your side, without a big marketing team, what the heck are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to promote your books and get your books out there? Suddenly, another marketing channel is again your reach, and you're just stuck there, being incapable of getting your book to the masses. And there's another version of influencers admitting to faking reviews that has happened for a really long time now, and that's called review bombing. If you're not familiar with that, it's when people rate a book a lot higher than it is. Like, they physically know that this book is not as good as it is, while downgrading others. This usually happens when books are within the same genre. So imagine two steamy romantasy books come out in about, and if some authors have a really big fan club, they might all jump on Reddit and be like, let's all vote this new book really high because we really like this author, and at the same time, let's downgrade the other book, so that the book by your favorite author shows up first when people are searching for a book within the specific genre and new releases. Again, really, really awful. Another version of review bombing is just posting tons of bad reviews about a book. And people usually do this, and you might even be familiar with it, when an author is really problematic, when they did something that most people don't agree with. Like, statistically, you've probably come across a post on TikTok or on Instagram where people are doing this. People are saying, oh, this author did XYZ that's really awful, let's all unfollow them, or let's all downgrade their book. Or if the book contents itself are problematic, if the author, makes a really bad joke in there that's in really bad tone, or makes something like it's morally incorrect, you might see a bunch of people jumping on the bandwagon and dropping a bunch of bad reviews. Either version of review bombing has tons of consequences, as you can imagine, because either you're an author who's suddenly looking at your book getting downgraded without any idea of what you did wrong, solely because your book is launching in the same week as somebody else, even though your book might actually be completely amazing, and you don't get a second chance to launch a book. Like, a book launch is a book launch. There's no redo of this. Or, on the other hand, you're an author who might get tons of really bad reviews on your books, not realizing that it's because some person online faked that you were awful, because some person on a Reddit thread said that you said something that you didn't do, and now you've got this massive smear campaign against you that makes no freaking sense. And I am all for holding people accountable. Absolutely. I'm all for, if an author does something that is absolutely vile and despicable, hold them accountable, pull their books from the shelf. If the book content is genuinely wrong, pull it. Absolutely. Pull the books. If you want to leave a bad review because the book is bad, leave a bad review. But we are so quick to judge, and things have gotten so insidious to a point where I can quite easily see how indie authors are getting the bad end of the stick, and it's making it practically impossible to be a new author in the current landscape without having a massive publishing house on your side, without having a mastery in marketing. And it's not an isolated problem. The problem is not just faking book reviews or having early reader systems and giving out free books or having review bombing happening. I think the major problem that is overlapping all of this is that the publishing industry itself is so intrinsically tied to reviews. Reviews are everything. As an author, not only does the opinion and the review of the agent that sees your book matters in order for you to actually be able to get your book published, the reviews of all of these people within the publishing world is what matters to actually put your books on the shelves. And then once your book gets to the shelves, suddenly it's all about sales. And what drives sales? Reviews. And then you have good reviews or bad reviews. And if these determine sales, then suddenly you need as many good reviews as possible in order to get your book actually making money and actually being worth the massive sacrifice that you've put into it. And many times you need sales in order to even continue publishing books, because publishing books is not free. It costs so bloody much. I really do think that the publishing industry itself needs to find an alternative to reviews. Reviews cannot be the monopoly of what determines when a book is good or bad. The book industry as a whole has gotten so lazy. It really is just do the errors, send out the free books, get the reviews in, run some TikTok paid ads, bish bosh, the sales are in, you're done. And the upside to these scandals, which feels wrong to say, but it is an upside, is that hopefully the book industry will start fighting for our attention again. They will stop getting lazy and just putting all of their eggs in the reviews basket. Because the truth is, we deserve it. We deserve to be considered. We, the readers, the people that are actually putting our money on the till, deserve to be seen more as just $1 or £1 in a bank account. And that's not just a me desire. That's a general book reader desire. Just take a look at the backlash that all of these viral Booktok books are getting. How often do you see a book go viral on social media and then 2 months later everybody's commenting and talking about how absolutely awful it is? How this book even got a movie deal and it's one of the worst writing ever. And I like that more of us are being honest and are fighting against the current of all of these influencers getting paid to recommend a book. And we're saying, yes, we may be the little guys, but we actually did read the book, and actually, it's absolute crap. And please let me know if you're with me on this, but I am exhausted of being constantly recommended bad books. Genuinely, I get why people hate viral books. I get why people turn their noses up whenever a book starts getting mentioned by a large community of people. Because for the past 2 years, it's been freaking silly season on social. Book influencers were cheap. We were a small community, so it was quite easy for major publishing houses to pay just a couple $100, and suddenly having really big creators discuss their books and saying, oh yeah, they're amazing. The fact is, when you see a creator that you really like recommend a book, and you, by default, go check it out online, that's you being influenced by a recommendation. It's all marketing. Whether we like to believe that these are all just girly girls talking about their favorite books, the fact is, everyone's got a little in that they want. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Like wanting to be fairly compensated by the work that you're doing, creating content, spending hours coming up with content ideas, sitting down, recording them, writing them down, posting them, checking in, replying to comments. That's all hard work that the vast majority of creators are doing for free. And I respect that. I'm a creator myself. I'm doing this podcast for free. But we have to keep that in mind as readers, that the things that we're seeing have a level of marketing. People have an inherent interest to get you to do the things that they want to do, to hit the follow button, to buy the book, to click the link. And while we're discussing shallow reviews, we also need to discuss the other side of the coin, the shallow bad reviews. Because cringe culture might be dead in the age of social media, but book snobbery, ooh, that is like a weed that refuses to die. Cyclical performative takedowns are happening all of the time. I've discussed it on my other podcast episode on why female authors keep getting destroyed online, but for this episode, I want to focus on the fact that whenever a book gets too popular, people have a tendency to pick the same bad paragraph and spin it over and over and over again for those same 5 seconds of fame. You know what I'm talking about. It's the girl is in their bedroom and they're all holding up a book and making a disgusted face, and on screen there's one bad sentence. One snippet of the entire book that people said was crap. And I find it quite funny that you can tell that these people are just making these 6-second videos because criticizing this specific paragraph, this specific author, this specific book is going viral. So why not pull out our phones and copy paste the same thing that everybody else is doing to get our own 100,000 views? It's like a Mean Girls group has taken over the social media book world, and we all just sit and stare because, yes, without context, that sentence or that paragraph does sound really bad and does sound really badly written. So we all flock to the comments and we say, yeah, that does sound awful. Feeding this horrible machine of just being mean people with absolutely zero context. And I understand the appeal of wanting to get views and wanting to grow your channel or whatever. But it just feels like it's the antithesis of everything that we set out to do. As readers, as book creators, When it all started, it was just us girlies that were usually at home being sort of outcasts, just reading our books, finally having a space to be able to talk about the things that we like. The books that, yes, maybe they're not that great. Maybe they're not intellectual or non-fiction or big highbrow stuff, but they were fun. We were just sitting down and talking about the books that we liked, and we were all having a giggle. When did we stop having fun? When did it all become about views and likes and reviews and getting free books? When did everything that we initially stood for and the reason we freaking joined the Booktok world become this sort of shallow, empty shell of what it used to be? Where did the fun and the joy go? I don't get it, and I'm grasping at anything. I'm starting this podcast. I've got a newsletter. I've got a YouTube channel. I've got a TikTok, an Instagram, Pinterest, anything that will give me a space to shout, let's have some freaking fun again. Let's giggle. Let's kick our feet. Let's just, enjoy books the way that they were meant to be enjoyed. I don't need to like the same genre that you like. If you absolutely love 2010's dystopia, that's not for me. But you know what? That's why Booktok was created, for you to go out there and find other people that relate to your interests, and you being able to talk to them, and you being able to relate and to have fun and to laugh. I want that back. We've managed to build something that is synonymous with literature. It's millions of posts out there with the hashtag Bookstagram, hashtag Booktok, hashtag BookYouTube. We have launched something where we finally all connect. So with drama, instead of using it as a way to say, hey, this entire community is rotten, I'm just gonna log out and just not be associated with it, why don't we do the opposite? Why don't we say, hey, this is wrong. This has pointed out a really big flaw in the machine. That is that the publishing industry is too tied to reviews. Let's figure out a way around it. There's millions of us. Let's speak out loud from what we want from publishers and editors. We have the purchasing power. We're the ones who are buying this stuff. So we get to say what we like and what we don't like. So let's freaking use it. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving it a 5-star reviews in whatever streaming platform of your choice, because that really helps, and have a wonderful week.